Communication, in my humble opinion, is the greatest tool we possess as humans. The ability to take an idea and place it into another person's mind is awe-inspiring if you really think about it. Coupled with the internet and its ability to take a message around the world in seconds, it can only get better. These are our conversations. Hope you enjoy. All right, guys, welcome back to UITC Group's Listen, Learn, and Ask Questions. Today, we have May, Simply May's Thoughts. She is here to talk to us about her journey through college, post high school life, and just her journey of actually starting her own, what do you call it?
So right now, I guess it will just be online branding, I guess, and making sure that I get the knowledge out there. So starting my own, I'm still figuring it out. But
All we know is that she's a powerhouse, and we're lucky to have her, and she's a lot smarter than anybody in this room.
Oh, no.
So, hey, it's great to see you again.
Thank you. Same to you.
So what has life given you, or what's been your journey since high school? Because we went to the same high school.
Right. I think my journey since high school has always been figuring out myself and trying to balance out the imposter syndrome within spaces that I'm in. Mm-hmm. I think because I come from such a small town here in Mount Vernon, and I am also, my family is from Senegal, I think oftentimes when I'm in spaces, I feel as though, am I really here? Like, what am I? Because, I go to an Ivy League, but it's like you're trying to figure out, is this the space for me? Mm-hmm. Like, do I belong here? Are these people smarter than me? Are these people better than me? They're richer than me. What am I doing here exactly? So I think that's what I'm trying to get over now.
Nice. So, so your undergrad, because you're studying for your master's now?
Yes, I'm doing a master's in international development.
International development, and your undergrad was in
criminology.
Criminology?
Yes.
So how do you morph those two, criminology and international development?
So for my undergrad, I went to Cambodia, and I was studying the justice system. And are you familiar with their genocide? They had a genocide that killed millions of people. And one of the leaders, I was sitting in on his trial, but all I could think about was the fact that they were using elementary schools as the torturing grounds. They were killing lawyers, doctors, anyone that could question the status quo. And so that's why I got into international development, because I'm like, we're sitting here in America, and sometimes we don't even understand what's going on in the world and how we can help. So I started off in criminology, and then my goal to fix education systems and just develop the international world kind of fostered from that, being in someone's trial and not even paying attention to the trial as a criminologist. It's just, I was just wondering so much on how much more the children could have gotten if they were even able to continue their schooling and figure out, how could we have stopped this if we still had access to schooling and being able to sit in one room and just generate ideas and figure out how to get this genocide to stop. But they literally killed everyone who could even question them. So that's why I got into international development, because I want to figure out ways, whether it's being a researcher, whether it's doing politics, figuring out ways so that the developing world doesn't have to experience things that can be prevented. Like, children shouldn't be dying from starvation and just not having access to water. Mm-hmm. So it's those things that can be prevented. That's what I'm working on.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was actually saying to myself, it's crazy how we as Americans live in a little bubble of like protection. It's like sometimes the things that we worry about doesn't even make any sense. When you go to certain parts of the world, these kids are literally afraid of bombs dropping on them, and militias and terrorists really coming in and taking them or their family. Like, these are the things that people worry about, and we're worried about if our Wi-Fi went down.
Right.
Like, it's so crazy, because there is this big world, and when you grow up in America, you kind of grow sheltered to it.
Right.
Like even the whole situation right now, what's going on in Iran, that everybody just randomly woke up to, or it seems random. But if you've been watching and listening and you were in the know about it, you saw it coming.
Yes.
And it's so crazy. So so you got your bachelor's in criminology, and now you're doing your master's. What pushed you to say you were going to go to get your master's?
Well, I'm a first generation college student. So just going to college itself was a stepping stone for me, and then graduating. But the reason why I definitely wanted to go to graduate school is because for the longest, I really wanted to go to law school. And it was only because we laugh in between ourselves that within African households, there are two professions, a doctor and a lawyer. Sometimes an engineer will get squeezed in there, but I really thought that I was only doing law. I wanted to do law because I was trying to make everyone understand my profession. But I really wanted to go to grad school because I wanted to know the why. What is the reason why these things are happening, as opposed to just fitting myself into a system where I kind of got to navigate based on the laws of, I mean, you still have to navigate based on laws, but I feel like sometimes if I'm doing something where I feel controlled, I get bored. And with graduate school, you kind of can pick up any topic and really dive into it and really figure out what's going on. And I think that the only way to fix a broken system is to know what's broken. So that's why I went to graduate school, because I want to research why these things are happening, how can we prevent it, and just moving forward and getting the world on one page, pretty much.
Nice, I hear you. So you spoke about imposter syndrome, or when you're in your classrooms and stuff, you don't feel like there's certain situations where you, not even that you don't feel, or you wonder if you belong, which is stupid, of course you do, because you got there. That's number one. But I've spoken to a teacher, and I remember one of the craziest things he said was, like, when you're a black man, like, even though you're held down or you're belittled, you're still noticed. He said one of the biggest plights of a black educated woman is that feeling of not being noticed at all. And how do you deal with that? Like, what is your day-to-day? Like, how do you take yourself out of that situation? Because I'm sure it's easy to get into that place, but I know you have to probably pick yourself back up and say, all right, forget that.
Yes, I struggle with that all the time. I think are you asking how I get myself out of that mindset?
Get out of that mindset and just continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's when I think back to where I started and I really acknowledge my growth. And it's more so about me understanding that you wouldn't be here unless you had something to offer. And I think oftentimes people may confuse the imposter syndrome with not feeling worthy of being there. But oftentimes it's like, you understand that you did good. You understand that you are doing good. But it's just the feeling of, it's almost like survivor's guilt. It's like you're trying to figure out why. Like, how did I make exactly? That's what I go through. So to get myself out of it, I'll hang out with people who understand me, who know me, and who can honestly let me know, you're going through this, but these are the steps that you have taken to be here, and that's why. So my little sister, she'll always remind me, like, you are one of few people in the family that I can go to and get advice on, let's say, the academic side of things, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, but I'm the only one who really pursued education, and I'm still figuring it out. But to hear her let me know that the only reason why I went to college was because I saw you do it. So I'm like, okay. Although maybe I feel like I'm not supposed to be here, at least someone sees what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do. So it makes it feel a bit better. And that's honestly why I started my YouTube channel, because I see a lot of first generation students who really want to ask questions and really want to understand, how do I do this without feeling belittled or feeling like the questions that they're asking is not smart. So that's why I'll get a lot of emails like, can you answer this? Can you answer this? And I'm even uploading a video on first, like what it means to be a first generation student. Because a lot of people really feel like it's just this one thing of being the first to go to college, but it's literally the first to do anything. It's just you're the first within the generation, or you know, that's why I have the YouTube channel, just so that people can ask questions to someone who they won't feel will judge them, or they know has gone through this. And yeah.
Nice. So speaking on your YouTube channel, where did the idea come from? Because a lot of people want to answer questions. A lot of people want to do good for the world and talk to people, but not a lot of people actually get up and say, you know what, I'm going to pick a topic, record, and talk to a camera, which is something I can't do. A lot of people tell me, yeah, you should do one. I can't talk to a camera.
Oh, like, okay.
It's very weird for me, and all the stuff I do, I like to conversate with people, because I always feel like I can't keep a conversation going by myself.
Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. And you know what I do to trick myself? I am literally, the camera is there, but there's a mirror right by the camera. So it's like, I don't know, it's some psychological thing that I'm doing where I'm talking to myself. Oftentimes I'm reminding myself of these things. So although there's a camera there, it'll look like I'm looking at the camera, but there's a mirror right by the camera and I'm talking to myself.
Oh, okay.
So I'm having a conversation with myself. So people may think I'm crazy.
Okay. No, you're only crazy if you answer yourself.
Right? But that's how I get around it. It feels as though you're talking to the camera, but in reality, I'm more so just having a conversation with myself. So, and the reason, to answer your question as to the reason why and what made me do it, is because I think about my graduating class, and I wonder, I'm like, oh man, I wonder who is still pursuing what they wanted to pursue. It doesn't have to be college. It doesn't have to be this multi-million-dollar business, but just pursuing something that you really wanted to do, and you didn't allow obstacles to kind of stop you, or allow anything to make you feel as though you're not good enough to get there. And I feel as though I needed to bring that light out and let people know, yeah, I go through things too, but I'm going to show you guys, just have some perseverance, and, you know, just don't beat yourself up too much. And that's really why I started it, because it is hard to talk to a camera and you're literally talking to yourself, but I think it's better when people see it as opposed to hearing of it. Because people will hear that, oh, this girl, she goes to an Ivy League, but what is that? Who really understands it all the way, and how it feels to be there, or just honestly just trying to navigate life as a student. You don't have the answers to everything.
Yeah, so, it's hard.
Right.
I went to WCC, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can go all the way for a bachelor's degree. And I'm like, I'm good where I am right now.
I understand.
Eventually that may change. Where do you get your topics from that you speak on? Because I know you spoke on rape. You spoke on just the difficulties of an Ivy League school and being the first person in your family to go to college. You got some hate for your last video, Dr. Umar Johnson.
Oh my gosh!
I got another question for that. But,
okay.
Where do you get your topics from and your inspiration?
Okay, so sometimes people will send in a question to my email, and then I'll check to see who sent it in. I'll ask them some more questions about it, just to get a real understanding of the issue that they're having, and then I'll answer it on camera. Or other times it will be my sister's friends who's having an issue. Like I'm going to be uploading a video that talks about if you are failing a class in college and you literally feel like there's no way out, there are little tricks and tips to do to make sure that it doesn't affect you horribly on your transcript. And a lot of students who haven't gone through the college system, they don't understand that there are some things you can do that, although you may be failing the class now, you can still see the other end. And I'll upload that as well. But that's where I get my inspiration from. It's literally people in my day-to-day life, or someone will send in a question to my email.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you did the video on Dr. Umar Johnson the other day, and you got some. I was reading the comments because I didn't see anything wrong in what you said.
It
But I was
killed
reading
me.
the comments. I was like, oh, people, why can't people look at people as compartments? I can agree with what you're saying here, but I don't need to put your personal life all in the mix. Like it's just like yeah, okay, my man, like what you said makes sense there. But you got a baby mama. What? No,
Right.
That's not what we're talking about.
Exactly.
So what do you think stops people from looking at what somebody is saying when it's facts and using their personal life to just kind of disprove whatever the facts they were saying? Why do you think people do that?
I think, I really don't know, because I'm the type of person that I may not like you, or I may not like some things that you say, but if you say something that I agree with, I'll look into that. It doesn't matter where the information is coming from. As long as it's valid information, I'll look into it. And that's why I say, if you really keep your life up that way, you're going to become closed-minded. And that's why I got attacked. They just went off on it. But I don't know why people aren't able to separate, exactly what you said, compartmentalize things, because
Remove the message
Exactly.
from the messenger. It's just like, is what you're saying true? If
Right.
what you're saying is true, okay.
that's what I did, and I got attacked for it. And I think it's because in this society now, we are so, how do we say it? We are so trained to be fans of people, to where we feel as though everything that they do and everything that they say, I have to agree with, or I'm not their fan. Or if I don't like them, everything that they say or everything that they do, I have to hate it, or I may like them a little bit. No, you can literally take away things that you like from people. When you talk to someone, I always say that. When you talk to someone, you take what you want and leave the rest. You don't have to take everything.
Yeah.
Who's asking you to take everything? You don't need to say, oh man, he said everything that I hate, but that one little thing I really agree with, but I'm not going to accept it because he said it. Well, how are we going to learn? I got attacked for that video, and so Dr. Umar Johnson, he's just a very vocal person, and he speaks very powerfully, and I don't know if people may be intimidated by that, and I don't agree with everything that he says, and I blatantly said that in the video, but people were not able to differentiate between the psychologist and the public figure, because now he's a public figure.
Yeah.
So,
And I think a lot of what he does, I think a lot of the talking that he does outside in general is just, I think it's just in general what he does is he sorts through the ideas as they come to his mind, and then he says it.
Right.
Because I think his mind runs at a mile a minute. He's a very intelligent guy. He's trained. He's educated. Like, at the end of the day, what he's saying isn't wrong.
right.
But I think, like, even like with his school, I think he really wants to build this school.
He really
but
does.
I think he underestimated the process that it takes to open a school.
I agree.
And he overestimated people's willingness to donate.
I agree.
So that's the only thing I think that's holding him back. It's like you got to have money, and you have to know the system, and you can't avoid knowing the system and then try to use that same, and then count on people, because man, it's hard to count on
But-
people to raise the funds for stuff.
Even with the school, you have to think about it. People are not going to invest in something where you are attacking their personal beliefs. He doesn't want anyone who is sexually confused, his words, not mine. He doesn't believe in calling them the LGBT community. He calls them sexually confused. So an investor who has the money but has a family member that's a part of that community, they're not going to want to invest with you. He talks about a black woman's image. He doesn't want a black woman who wears any other hair that's not hers. which is that's his opinion. I'm not going to go into his head and say, you're wrong. I'm going to do what I want. But no, I don't see a black woman who's offended by that comment investing in his school. And he also speaks about a black man who's in an interracial relationship. There are so many interracial relationships. He literally probably, if not 50%, he cut at least 60 to 70% of his investments alone, just from mentioning those three groups of people. A black woman's image, LGBT, and interracial relationships.
Yeah, he has severely limited his course. But yeah, no, that like I said, that's just very funny. It's funny how people can compartmentalize your video, but not compartmentalize the speaker.
No. Yeah, they I don't know what it was about the video that made them mad, which is why I responded to the video. And I let them know, these are the comments that I got, and let me explain to you guys what my channel is about. It's not about, because I think they wanted me to question his education, and I'm not going to do that.
You ain't got time for that. You got your own education to get. Well, I don't care. Like, I'm just talking about what the man said. Whether he went to college, whether he read it in a book, I don't care. Whatever.
Exactly.
I'm talking about what was said at that moment in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's crazy. And I remember even Barack Obama said it one time. I forgot where he was giving a speech. He was saying that we've been growing up in this generation where we want a whole bunch of yes people. We only want to talk to people that we agree with.
Right.
And that causes a closed-minded system, because where does growth, where does innovation, and where does teamwork come in play if everybody's saying yes?
Right.
Everybody in the room is saying yes. What kind of conversation you're having? You're not having a conversation, you're just being cheered on.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you the importance of having people around you who can see things that you can, and who aren't just going to say yes because they think it's you. Right before when I graduated, when I did my bachelor's and I was applying for grad schools and law schools, there was this one law school that I wanted. And my friend was like, you're not going to get into that school. You need to apply to this one. And it was hard, but I'm like, thank God he said something, because I was really full-fledged, literally going to apply to that one school, closed-minded, so in my head. And he's just like, no, that's not going to happen. And I'm not trying to make you feel like, you know, you're not good enough for that school, but I'm just letting you know you need to have an A, B, C, D plan. And I only had an A plan. And that's me being closed-minded. It's just not okay to have yes men all the time.
No. Yeah. It prevents growth. It
does.
Ray Dalio, he came out with a book called Principles, and he's an investor, and they were at the floor of the stock market back in the 1960s, 70s. I forgot which year it was, but they were in a stock market crash, and he said it was going to go further, and he swore by it. He said it on TV, and he said then he was wrong. And he was like, at that point, he's like, he lost so much money, had to lay off a lot of people. And he said, then he had to realize to start over. He was like, he didn't want people that were afraid to tell him he was wrong. He wanted the smartest people that disagreed with him. And the conversation stopped being about the right choice. And it started becoming, why is it the right choice? Because he had the smartest people in the room that he knew that disagreed with him. And it wasn't about being right. It wasn't about being wrong. It was about whatever the right decision is, why is it the right decision?
Right.
And that's just where life kind of needs to go. And I don't know what it's going to take for our generation and our people to understand that. And I don't know. We got to, what do you think will help?
What do I think would help?
Us as a people understand that it's not about being right. You don't, what was the saying that I always said? I always said, like, you don't want to always be right. You always want to do right. You want to do the right thing. You don't have to always be right, but you always have to make sure you do the right thing.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, you need to be able to admit it. How do we get people to understand that it's not always about being right, so it's about doing right? I
think that all boils down to building confidence. I think people who may not be so confident in themselves, they have a very hard time admitting when they're wrong, or when they just didn't make a right choice, or simply apologizing to people. It's a certain level of inner development that needs to happen within a person or groups of people where they can acknowledge their rights and their wrongs. So that's where I think that stems from.
So what are you looking to do with your master's degree? Like, what's your postgraduate life? I don't know. There's too many posts.
Right.
What's your next goals after you get your master's degree? Where do you see yourself, or where are you interested in looking towards going?
I have two plans. It's either to go directly into a PhD or to do research and work internationally and help to, at some point I'm going to end up internationally, but I don't know if I want to do that right after the master's or to pursue a PhD. So I'm still trying to figure that out right now. I don't know if I should take a break after my master's and work a little bit within development and then come back for a PhD. So I'm still figuring that out. And that's what I want also students to understand about school. It's okay to still be figuring things out, because I think when you see someone, you think they have everything together, when in reality, they're also still figuring their life out as well. But I think it's just, people just idolize perfection. And I want everyone to understand it's okay to not really know what are the exact steps you are taking, but just have a plan to make steps. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm figuring out if I want to go this route or this route, but we'll see. We'll see where it takes.
What would your PhD be in?
So my PhD would be in educational development, and it will be focused on providing quality education to everyone internationally, and just building unity within the world and through education. So yeah, that's what I want to do, because a lot of education systems abroad, they really need help with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the United Nations SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I know the United Nations,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know the Sustainable Development Goals.
No, it's okay. I just learned about them last year.
What are they?
Yeah. So there's 17 goals that the United Nations put out for everyone in the world. The different nations have signed on to these goals. I think it's no poverty, no hunger, quality education, reduced inequalities. So there are different goals that they have and targets and how they are going to reach those targets. And one of the targets is quality education. So it's very good when you're doing research within one of those 17 goals, because they are trying to, the deadline is 2030. They had previous goals, Millennium Development Goals, and the deadline was 2015, and they did not reach their goals internationally. So they set up new goals, Sustainable Development Goals, and now we're trying to work towards making sure that there's reduced inequalities, no poverty, no hunger, quality education systems within the world by 2030. So we have 10 years to get this together.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. So I'm working within that field of development to make sure that quality education systems exist, and making sure that students don't have to go to school hungry, or if they are going to school hungry, they can at least have a good meal at school. You know, because we come here at school, we used to get breakfast in the morning,
breakfast, we used to get
lunch, you know.
When we stayed after school, we had a
Right,
snack.
right.
No, that stuff is very important. Now, I remember you were saying that one of the important things that we need to do as a people is we need to develop Africa.
Yes.
We need to take pride in our place, and we need to. So now I have a question. Can I develop Jamaica while everybody else develops Africa?
Yes, but that's the point of it.
Because I just like, and I tell people all the time, people like, Mike, we're from Africa. I'm like, I get that. But there's a lot of people trying to help Africa, and Africa got, like, not saying they got it all together, but I like my little island of Jamaica, and I know that's where my mom is from, and I can go there and I can see where my grandmother was buried.
Yeah.
So that's like my little piece. And
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, if we all take care of our little pieces of the world, we'd have a better world.
So in the video, I did not explain myself well.
No,
Yeah.
I totally got what you said. I wasn't offended or anything.
Yeah,
but
I
that was just
understand.
my only question. Was like,
Yeah.
can I take Jamaica? Can that be mine?
So when I said we need to go home and develop Africa, I was speaking in terms of Africans who want to see Africa doing better. And we don't necessarily have to, some people think that, I mean, you have to go live there and be in Africa and just do everything in Africa. You can still develop Africa living here, but like investing your money there, building a business there, you know, there's certain things that everyone can do to help their home. That's what I meant. So of course, develop Jamaica. That's the best part about it. I think that if everything that we as Black people did in America, if we did that at our homes, literally, we would be so developed. We would want to move there because of how developed it was, or how developed it is. So that's what I meant by we need to go develop Africa. I mean, if you're not, even if you're not African and you want to go develop Africa, that's great. But
All right, guys, change of scenery. Brian's gonna do a fancy teleportation thing for for this. But we were talking about, and I was asking you, because for me personally, everybody talks about going back to Africa, and for me personally, I think my going back to Africa per se is taking care of Jamaica, because I believe that if we all take care of our own piece of the world, then the whole world gets better. So is that like, okay?
And that's exactly what I meant by the video. I think I was speaking in reference to myself and people like me. That's why I said we need to go back to Africa in reference to the Africans wanting to develop Africa. Just to go, everyone take your own country and help to develop your own country, because once we focus on that, just think of how many people are in America and are from different countries. Yeah, so I feel like if everyone just helps to develop their own country, then we'll have a much more developed international space.
Which I think is very important, as you hear more and more Americans complain about immigration and people coming into the country. All right, well, if we help them take care of where they're at, then they won't want to force their way in here.
Right. But even when you think about it, remittance, like people abroad sending money back home, account for almost, in some African communities, account for 90% of African families' income.
I know in Jamaica, remittance is the second flow of income into the country behind tourism. So you got tourism, then you got people sending back money.
Right. So how can we build a self-sustaining society?
Exactly, because I say it all the time. Like, that's one of the things that I think about when I go back to Jamaica. It's like, I just don't want to give them money, because if you just give them money, it's like, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for life type thing.
Right.
But everybody just wants the handout, and it doesn't do anything. And then even like you have like companies, and I tell them I want to donate clothing, or I want to donate book bags, I want to do all this stuff to the country. I'm like, yes and no. Like, yes, if they don't have it, you want to give them. But if you push this whole influx of free goods, what are you doing to the person who sells that goods?
Yeah.
So what about the person who lives in that village that sells book bags or sells clothes?
Right.
Like, you've just taken away their money.
That's what happened with Haiti and the U.S., right? When I think during Bill Clinton's presidency, he was flooding Haiti with so much free rice that their rice market plummeted. And the same thing happened with Tom's. You know, the shoe company Tom's. They were marketing, for every Tom you buy, we will send one back home.
Yeah.
We will send one back to Africa.
Yeah.
And the shoemakers, the
Didn't make any
retailers,
money.
they didn't make any money because you got so much free product coming into the...
You're not building their economy, because the
Exactly.
economy is actually the exchange of money.
Exactly.
So it's like, even sometimes you have people that say, oh, when you bring stuff into a country, they tax you. And I'm like, that sounds bad, but they have to, because then there'll be no money that goes into the economy.
Right.
Now, the thing that needs to happen is that tax that, like, let's say if I bring in a whole bunch of book bags and I'm saying, oh, I'm going to donate this to a certain place in Jamaica. Now, that money that you take from me for tax needs to, when you take it, it needs to go to that same
That place.
community.
Yes, I agree.
To the people who sell book bags. So it's like, okay, cool, they're giving book bags and we tax them, but here it is, because you have to put money in the economy. And I kind of learned that from this show, Adam Ruins Everything. And he talked about, like, he talks about a lot of different topics, and he just talks about the misconception of it in general. And he talked about the misconception of, oh, send in canned goods. And there are
Right.
people who do studies, and they say the best thing that you can give a country is money. But then the problem becomes, do you know where the money's going? Do you know if it's going to what they said it's supposed to go to?
Right.
And that's where it becomes a problem. And that's why, like, that's like one of my little future plans, to become that liaison for, like, Jamaica, like, to be that middleman that, okay, you say you're going to donate, you donate, and I go down there and I make sure
That's dope.
what the money is given for is that's what it's doing.
Right.
And that's what we need, because sadly a lot of these third world countries, and I hate to call them that, but a lot of these third world countries, they get, the people who live there get into a survival mode. So it's like you give them $100 and you say, okay, give 50 to this, and then you keep the next 50.
Right.
They'll just keep the whole 100 instead of thinking to give the 50 and thinking that they're going to get another 50. They don't
Right.
have a long-term perspective, because they've been forced to live in a now and survival now mode.
Right. Right. And sometimes it's not even because the country is poor; it's because of corruption.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's another topic that is crazy in
Right.
itself,
The money is there; it's just not being used properly.
and distributed amongst the people.
But speaking of putting back into the economy, I had a question. What do you think about business owners coming back to their, let's say if they live in a violent community, coming back to their community and establishing a business? What do you think about that? Like the risk factors?
When you say coming back to their communities in general,
Yeah,
or-
like if I was to come back here and let's say I open up a shop or a store or something just to develop my community's economy. But
I think one of the biggest problems, and I only talk about it from a black perspective because I am black, is bad mind or haters or people just, I don't know what it is. For some reason, our people, and I don't know if it's a poverty mindset, but I only say black people because I grew up in Mount Vernon and we're majority black, and we're different types of black. We're African, we're Caribbean, we're so mixed.
right.
We have Brazilians, we have Hispanics, we have so many people. But it's like, for some reason, our communities, when we see somebody we know doing something, we don't trust it. We want to get it for free. We don't think that they deserve, like, why them and not me? It becomes this huge
Right.
thing. And it's just like, you spend all this money and people don't think you're deserving of their money, but they'll give it to somebody else. I think it's very important, because the most important thing you can do as a community is support the business owners that live in your community.
Right.
Because they're the ones who care what the community look like, because they live there, their kids go to school there, that type of stuff. But we've been so broken into wanting what everybody else has that we don't even want our own. And when somebody has their own, we don't support them. We talk about them. We either want it for free. And it's so strange. And I don't know how to stop that, because, oh God, Dr. Claude, he was on, I forgot his name. He was on the Breakfast Club. I guess we'll have to somehow, like, write his name on the video so people can look him up.
Right.
But he spoke, Dr. Claude Anderson, I think it was. But he spoke on the Breakfast Club. He was like, when Rosa Parks first fought the inequality of sitting in the front of the bus, he was like, he was in North Carolina. His family was in North Carolina. They had their own bus company. And they had 3 buses, and they had black drivers and black engineers and black people who ran this company. And then they fought to integrate bus systems. When bus systems got integrated, black people didn't want to ride on the black bus anymore. They wanted to ride on the white bus. So their company got shut down. When you talk about integration of schools, which it should be, and it's funny, he was like, they shut down all these schools that had black teachers, black administrators, black psychologists.
Right.
Like, we were our own community, and we were fulfilled, and we were teaching our own and stuff, and people fought for integration of schools. So they shut down the school that had all the black people, and then they sent these little black kids to go to schools where people may not understand them as much. And that's what plagues our society. We want we believe the grass is greener on the other side.
Always,
We want
yeah.
what they have, even though they don't want us to have it. And
Right.
even though we have something similar, like what's the difference between Gucci and your friend who designs a shirt? What's the difference between those two shirts? Nothing.
Popularity.
That's it. But we don't hold enough of our, and I think it goes back to something you said. You said that inner
Yeah,
confidence in
yeah.
yourself. We don't have that, so we don't believe anything we do or we produce is good enough.
Yeah.
So it would be very important for business people to come back to their communities and develop it, but would it be financially responsible on their part? Like, at the
Right.
end of the day, business is business. I'm not doing this because I love people. I'm doing this because I need to make money and I need
Exactly.
to feed my family. So it's like you have people, oh, black businesses ain't here. There's no small businesses. But are you going to support those small businesses? Will you go to the person who has the clothing shop in your town instead of going to Macy's?
Right. And the reason why I ask you is because of the young lady in Baltimore who built up a salon in her
And they will rob
in her
and
neighborhood and
kill
robbed
her.
her and killed her. Because even from me possibly wanting to set up a business here, that completely made me be against it. Simply because I feel like it's similar, the neighborhoods. And then I feel like a lot of times in criminology we have this broken windows theory where you'll rather go commit a crime in a neighborhood that's already crime infested as opposed to committing a crime in a neighborhood that will notice you committing the crime.
Oh, of course. I never throw out my garbage when I'm in Pelham out the
Exactly.
window, but I will in Mount Vernon.
Exactly.
Sad to say, it's crazy how that works. It is crazy how that works, and it's just a testament to show that we have to do better.
Right.
We have to do better. There is no reason why we respect somebody else's business way more than we respect
Right.
our own people's business. And when it comes to the business owner, like the majority of the time, the reason they want to open up a business in the town that they don't live in is it's easier just to distance yourself from the customer.
Right.
Get out. I don't know. Like
Exactly.
like there's no connection. There's no line. The line is there.
Right.
It's I'm a business owner. You're the customer. Not oh snap. That's little Johnny down the street. I know his mom's having a hard time. I know he stole. But it's like you as the business owner, you're able to remove yourself from that situation and just be like, yo, I'm here to make money and that's it. And there's no emotional attachment.
Yeah.
Which business shouldn't be. But because people lately have been in this span of trying to take advantage of each other, like even I say, like, I want to do business in Jamaica. There's a lot of corruption that goes on in Jamaica from the top to the bottom.
That's every country.
The person will steal from you. Like there are people who start businesses with their family and their family steals from them. And it's putting me to a point where it's like, I don't want to start any business with my family. Because if you steal from me, I need to be able to kill you. Or that option needs to be there without the worry of, oh, my family, oh, that's your cousin, that's your family, don't do that. Like, it's this crazy, this crazy dynamic of there needs to be a line. And that's why they say family is the hardest person to start business with.
Right.
And it's
I wouldn't.
So it's like, even when I think about Mount Vernon, it's like, would I start a physical brick and mortar business here?
No.
It'd be very difficult for me to say that I would, because it's like, where's the line drawn? Because then now all of a sudden, Mount Vernon's just going to expect things from me just because.
Right.
Like, oh, you from here. So.
Exactly. No one wants to pay for your service. I just think about the way Popeyes went viral on social media. I'm pretty sure if someone's friend had a business selling the same thing, it wouldn't go that viral.
No, it wouldn't.
I don't know.
Even though I still haven't figured out why that went viral like that.
Yeah, I don't know. There must be something in that food.
Something, I don't know. Because it was random and it came out of nowhere. It didn't make any sense. So a question I would ask you is, what is a piece of advice that you would give to a young black girl on her journey through academics, specifically through post-high school academics?
A piece of advice that I would give someone is to build a team. Build a very supportive team. And it doesn't have to be a big team, but it just has to be a team that's goal driven. because no one makes it alone. No one makes it by themselves. It's always the people around them who helps them. So whether you have a great advisor, a good support system like your friends or your teacher, just make sure that everyone is on the same page with where you want to be in life. Because oftentimes we get lost in, maybe I'm failing a class today, or maybe I really don't want to know what I want to do with my degree, and then we start to shut down within our academic journey. But I think when you have a team around you that can remind you of your goals and remind you where you want to take it, you'll get back to a common ground. And that's where you was asking me, how do I get out of the imposter syndrome? It's almost always the people around me who let me know, like, get yourself together. So that's my advice. Build a very supportive team so that even in moments where you don't feel so confident, the people around you have the ultimate confidence in you.
Nice. So where can people find you? Social media wise, Facebook, YouTube, all that. Where?
So all my social media handles are Simply May's Thoughts. And the only difference is Instagram is Simply May's_thoughts. But my Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram are Simply May's Thoughts.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for this great conversation. And thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for watching.
I totally forgot which camera to look at. I don't know. Thank you guys for watching. As usual, like, comment, share. We're gonna be talking to as many people as we can in 2020 in this new year. We want to show people that the people that you idolize don't have to live in Hollywood and don't have to have millions of dollars. There are people in our community, there are people in our circles that do so many amazing things, and we need to show appreciation to those people, and we need their stories to be told, and we need to celebrate their stories just as much as we celebrate the people's stories that we don't know. So thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys share this video with a friend. Thank you.